Imagine your time machine breaks, not near a dinosaur or a mammoth. It drops you into one of Earth's ice ages. Here's the part nobody tells you. There have been 5 of them. And the one you're picturing right now, the one with mammoths and cave paintings, is actually the safest one on the entire list. One of the other 4 came close to freezing the ocean solid at the equator. One happened before anything but bacteria existed to notice it was happening. So the real question isn't, could you survive an ice age? It's, which one? Let's count down all 5, worst to best.
Number 5, the Huronian.
This is the oldest ice age on record, and also the strangest one. Because you caused it. Well, not you personally. Photosynthesis did. Around 2.4 billion years ago, early cyanobacteria started pumping oxygen into an atmosphere that had almost none. That oxygen reacted with methane, a powerful greenhouse gas, and stripped most of it out of the sky. No methane blanket meant no heat trapped near the surface. The planet's thermostat broke, and it broke cold. Geologists still find the evidence today in glacial scour marks and drop stones preserved in billion-year-old rock around Lake Huron in Ontario, which is where this ice age gets its name. Here's your problem. Oxygen levels were still a tiny fraction of what they are now, so even standing in open air, you'd be gasping. There's no plant life, no animal life, nothing to eat, nothing to burn, and by most reconstructions, ice possibly reaching all the way to the equator. You'd survive minutes here, maybe an hour if you're lucky, and only because your lungs give out before the cold ever finishes the job. This is dead last, by a wide margin. But at number 4, the ice gets even worse. It also happens to be the reason any of us are here to rank it. Snowball Earth. Fast forward roughly 1.7 billion years to the Ice Age with the best nickname in Earth's history. There were 2 major pulses here, the Sturtian around 720 million years ago, and the Marinoan around 640 million years ago. And in both, glaciers may have reached from the poles all the way down to the equator. Some researchers argue for a slush ball instead, with a thin strip of open ocean left at the equator, but either version is brutal. Life at this point is still just microbial mats and algae. Nothing to hunt, nothing to gather, no fire to build since there's nothing to burn. Some researchers think the extreme stress of this ice age is exactly what forced evolution toward the first complex multicellular organisms in the period that followed, setting up the explosion of animal life in the Cambrian. You wouldn't survive it, but everything that eventually leads to you does. You'd get a few hours here at best, with nothing to eat and nowhere to warm up. But this is the ice age that cracked the door open for everything else, including us. Number 3 is the first one on this list you could actually live through. Barely. The Andean-Saharan. This glaciation, recorded in ancient rock across South America and northern Africa, lines up with the end of the Ordovician period and the first mass extinction in the history of complex life. Sea levels dropped, habitats collapsed, and most trilobites, brachiopods, and early cephalopods alive at the time didn't make it. But you'd have air. Oxygen sat around 15%. Thin, but breathable. Closer to standing on a tall mountain than to suffocating. And you'd have food. Trilobites are edible. Roughly the same idea as eating a crab, just smaller and far more abundant. You'd need a lot of them. Watch the water though. A straight-shelled nautiloid called Camaraoceras, up to 6 meters long with a beak and grasping tentacles, patrols these shallows, and it would happily treat you as a snack rather than a threat. You could realistically last days here, maybe longer, as long as you stay out of deep water and keep eating trilobites. Number 2 doesn't care how tough you are. It cares where you land, the Karoo. This is the longest ice age in the last 500 million years, and also the one where your odds depend entirely on where the time machine drops you. This ice age wasn't global. It centered on the ancient supercontinent Gondwana, while it sat parked directly over the South Pole, and its glacial scars are still visible today in rock formations across South Africa, South America, and Antarctica. But land near the equator, in what's now North America or Europe, and you're not in an ice age at all. You're in the middle of the coal swamps of the time, warm, humid, and thick with air at oxygen levels as high as 35%. Land on the glaciated side, and you're fighting frostbite with almost nothing to eat. Land on the equatorial side instead, and you've got swampfish, amphibians, and 8-foot-long millipedes that are enormous, but mercifully harmless. This one really splits down the middle. Stranded on the ice, you're looking at days. Land in the swamp instead, and you could stretch that into months. We're ranking it by that better outcome, since at least one version of this ice age actually gives you real options. And number 1 is the ice age you were picturing from the very start. Turns out you were right to feel safe about it.
The Quaternary. This is the one everyone already pictures when they hear Ice Age, and it's also, by a wide margin, your best shot. We're technically still inside this glaciation right now, in a warm stretch that started about 11,700 years ago. But drop into one of the colder stretches, and you'd find mammoths, giant bison, and wild horses roaming landscapes that were only partly frozen. Only around a quarter of the planet's land was actually under ice at the coldest points. The rest was cold, but livable, and full of calories. You'd have modern-style plants, real megafauna to hunt, and fire is easy. Your biggest threat isn't the cold, it's the company. At least 8 different human species were walking around during parts of this ice age, some of them physically stronger than you, and capable of tracking you for days. You could last months here, maybe longer, as long as you can avoid becoming someone else's protein. This is your best ice age, by a wide margin. 5 Ice Ages, 1 countdown. The one you already knew about takes the top spot. The middle 2 are survivable, if you know where to stand and what to eat. And the oldest 2 sit at the bottom. Ice ages so old and so hostile that oxygen itself, the thing keeping you alive right now, is either missing entirely or the reason the ice showed up in the first place.